Hello, everyone. I'm James Milan. Welcome to this town hall update. We are joined by our town manager, Adam Chapdelaine. Adam, we took a little break last week. I was out of town and had a nice little time down on the Cape. Hope you had a good week. Anyway, good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. And that is we're going to really concentrate on talking about the Public Works facility project. So the Department of Public Works is undergoing a big kind of rebuild and including some new construction. And I think people are probably aware of this already, but certainly will be if they have to do any DPW business, and so many people in town do. So just to start with, if you don't mind, if you can, take us through where did this, well, just tell us the story of this, and then we'll actually look at some of the changes upcoming.
Absolutely. So really the DPW facility, the Public Works facility, sometimes it's called the Town Yard down on Grove Street, is really probably the last big town building that hasn't undergone any type of significant reinvestment or investment in a long time. It's probably close to 50 years since a significant investment's been made in the town yard. The town has been so generous over the past couple decades in refurbishing the 3 fire stations, the police station, work done on the library, obviously lots of work having been done on the schools, rebuilding and reconstructing and renovating, and now with the new high school. So the Public Works project is really the last in a long line of significant reinvestments in town facilities. And I think it's an exciting investment. It's going to rehab the existing structures, buildings A, B, C, and D that we'll see on a diagram in a little while, as well as constructing a new building E to really be able to provide modern facilities for what have become increasingly complex provision of public works services. So it's a $44 million project, has been funded by town meeting. A significant portion of that is funded by the general fund. The majority of it is funded by the general fund, with another not insignificant portion coming from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund, because of the Water Sewer Division being a big part of the work that DPW does. So again, $44 million project, should take about 25 months to be fully complete. That's because we're renovating all the existing buildings and building the new building on what is a tight site. I believe the entire site's only 4.4 acres with hazardous material conditions under the ground based on prior uses and contaminations they caused in the soil. So it's a complex project that hopefully, though, at the end will provide a much needed reinvestment and improvement to the facilities that our Public Works crew are using.
Great. And before we start to look at the, some schematics from the project, let me just ask you, that 25-ish month timeline you were just mentioning, has that begun? In other words, is this project underway already, or is that start imminent?
So the start is imminent. I think that there'll be a shovel in the ground sometime in the next week, maybe even by the end of this week, if not early next week. So yeah, we're basically starting to count that 25-month timeline now.
All right, great. I think we can get our producer here to pull up on the screen an image of the entirety of the project, and if you can just kind of give us some perspective on what it is we're looking at.
Absolutely. So if you look at Building A and Building B, right now that houses the majority of the Public Works administrative divisions, as well as inspectional services on the first floor of Building A. Building C is vehicle storage. Building D is where a good portion, we do some vehicle storage as well as our motor equipment repair. What we are going to be doing is renovating those buildings to house different uses than what are being housed now in Building A and Building B, and then constructing Building E, which you can see goes all the way back, to take some of the uses out of Building D and Building A and Building B as well. So the final result will have Building A and Building B housing our facilities department, which is now currently housed in the high school, as well as our information technology department, which is also primarily located in the high school. they will be housed in Buildings A and Building B. Buildings C and D will be almost entirely vehicle storage. In the various studies we've done over the years in trying to improve the efficiency and longevity of our vehicle fleet, the recommendation always comes back that being able to have indoor storage for your vehicle fleet expands their longevity. So we want to try to maximize vehicle storage in this project. So again, Building C and Building D will be primarily used for vehicular storage. Building.
I'm sorry, I am interrupting you in the middle of your train of thought. I apologize for
Okay.
that. But
Okay.
I just wanted to throw in a little bit of it's not an extraneous issue, but you said Building C and D, mostly going to be vehicle storage. That puts me in mind. This town has been a leader in a number of ways in the green space. One of the areas is that town's been working has been getting more and more of its fleet, making more and more of its fleet electric. And I'm wondering whether there are any plans. Clearly, this doesn't have to do with the renovation, but do you have any clear idea about what those many vehicles that will be housed in those buildings, whether there will be a gradual conversion of that fleet as well to electric, or what the plans are there?
So there are plans to install power stations or charging stations in the head-in parking spots that you saw on the site plan for both town vehicles or visitors to be able to utilize charging in the parking spaces. In terms of the vehicle storage, it's going to be the bigger, heavier equipment and most of the pickup trucks that we have. Our goal is to want to get, when the products come to market, we want to be able to electrify that fleet. Those products aren't fully at market yet. So we're working to make sure that proper conduit is run so that we can install necessary charging stations once those vehicles actually come to market and we're able to start acquiring them for our fleet.
All right, thanks very much for that. And I apologize again for the interruption.
It's a good question. So I think all I was going to add was, so for Building E, in the front part of the building with the brick facade, there you go. Wow, thank you. That's going to house Dpw Administrative Offices. So the director, recycling coordinator, and all the administrative staff that serve the DPW department, as well as inspectional services. So inspectional services has been at 51 Grove Street. It's now at 23 Maple Street for an interim period while we're doing this project. But then they will move into this new building, Building E as well. The back of Building E, which I think there's another show up, that is going to be where motor equipment repair and other DPW shops are located. So the majority of the vehicle maintenance and some vehicle storage will be in this facility that you see on the screen right now. Again, as well as the shops where Natural Resources has a shop where they can work on various things, as well as the Highway Division, the Water Sewer Division, and that will all be housed in the rear part of this new Building E. So back to that first photo, you did see a reference to a salt shed, and there will be a newly constructed salt shed behind Building E, and that's where we store our salt for winter and plowing operations.
It's clear that Building E, as you've already mentioned, and as says on the diagram there, it is going to be brand new, because that is all at the moment that part of the big parking lot that sits out in front of the DPW offices at the moment. So I am sure that we will be following all of the kind of latest and most innovative environmental efficiency standards, et cetera, in the building of this brand new facility. And I imagine that the way things are set up, that's going to be perhaps the last thing to be completed.
I believe that is the case. I think some excavation will start, but I believe that will be the final thing that's completed, because we've put a priority on moving facilities and information technology over, because they need to get out of the high school before those wings of the high school are demolished.
So many moving parts to this project, for sure. Thank you very much for the overview, though, and I hope and imagine that our audience has a much clearer idea of what that $44 million project is going to both look like in the process and then yield at its conclusion. I have been a number of times into the existing DPW building, and it feels like it's been there forever. So certainly renovation and new construction seems warranted in this situation. So, all right, anything that we failed to mention?
No, I thank you for the opportunity to talk about this exciting project. It'll be something Arlingtonians see for a while as they drive in or around Grove Street or through the center of town. But otherwise, it's been a wet July. I think I'd close by thanking DPW for the great work they've been doing. Lots of limbs, trees, and branches being picked up over the last couple of weeks. I think we had more than a half dozen trees on homes. So it's a good tie-in to mention that DPW has been doing great work. They're sort of the quiet third wing of public safety, keeping all of us safe in the community. They don't get heralded necessarily as much as their brethren in police and fire, but they're equally important in providing a safe and secure place for people to call home. So good opportunity to thank them as we're talking about the project as it's about to commence.
So true. All right, well, thanks again, as always, for your time, Adam. I have been speaking with our town manager, Adam Chapdelaine, for this town hall update, and we will see him and you again next week. I'm James Milan. Thanks so much for joining us.